Good day and welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to introduce our guest, a true adventurer in both the world of acting and the great outdoors. Born in the rugged landscapes of Aberdeen, Scotland, and raised amidst the prairies of a small town in Saskatchewan, our guest embodies a unique blend of grounded humility and daring spirit. Trained in the art of acting at the University of Regina and the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in the heart of New York City. He's been weaving his magic on film and theater stages since 2005. His talent has garnered him well-deserved recognition, from being voted as the first runner-up for Best of Edmonton Actor by Voe Weekly to earning Sterling Theatre nominations for outstanding performances in comedies like The Flying Detective and thought-provoking productions like Tragedy, a Tragedy. But his creativity doesn't stop at acting. He's a true craftsman, masterfully wielding paints, wood, and various other materials in the artistic endeavors. And when he's not in the limelight, you'll likely find him in the wild, chasing those elusive vistas and seeking out moments of nature's beauty. His filmography is a testament to his versatility, with notable roles in movies like The Mustache, Ordinary Decent Criminal, The Academy, Painkiller, No Apology, The Superhero Who Loved Me, Smile, It's Only the End of the World. Please join me in welcoming this extraordinary talent, a man who embraces both the stage and the untamed wilderness with equal fervor, Cody Porter. Cody, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Got my coffee right here, Chris, and I'm
Fabulous.
ready for action. Here we go. Pleasure to be here.
I want to dive into it with you. Did you always want to be an actor? Did you always want the limelight?
Well, if you asked my mom, she would certainly say that that is the case. I can remember as a kid entertaining her with air bands. I would, put on like an old record and dance and sing. And she always got me to play Santa Claus at the holidays. And I remember doing Elvis impersonations at the Legion Hall for gathered middle-aged ladies who I had to keep reminding, hey, I'm just a teen. I'm just a teen.
I think you chose to remind them, though. That's
true. Yes, I had to.
So out of all those memories, what was your favorite record that you used to throw on and dance and lip sync to for your mom?
There was a track. I don't remember who sings it, but it goes something along the lines of "Who's reaching out from under the stairway, smiling at everybody she sees." Anyway, it's windy. That's the answer.
Yeah.
It's windy. It's windy. And being in the prairies, you could sort of relate to it being pretty windy.
It's a fair point. You look out and you can just see for miles.
That's true. Watch your dog run away for a few days.
So when we talk about the limelight and getting into it, you kind of had this acting bug right from childhood almost.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it was more brought into focus in my high school. It was a pretty small school, this small town Saskatchewan school, and like my graduating class was like 60 people or something like that. So they didn't have a lot of young men who wanted to be on the stage, I guess. So I was asked, because of my, I guess, inherent goofiness, if I wouldn't mind jumping in there. So that sort of became a place that it was kind of okay to explore that, that part of yourself that that it isn't socially acceptable to like always be, doing bits and that kind of stuff. So you could kind of like, you had the opportunity to have a sort of captive audience to explore a little bit of that. And that very much appealed to me at first, at least in that capacity, before of obviously delving more deeply into it and starting to understand that there's more of a craft to it than just, waka waka,
Well, it's all for the halibut, I can assure you. But
ooh. I love it. I love it, Chris. Keep them coming. We got all kinds of puns to get through today.
So when you graduated school, did you immediately go right down to NYC and start doing theater? What was that journey like for you?
Well, actually, my first stop after high school was University of Regina, where I took the acting program there. I still remember this very clearly. I went and did a monologue from Hamlet. And of course, I thought at that time that I had to do it in a very posh British accent. And at the end of my audition for the University of Virginia, they said to me, "Are you British?" And I said, "Well, no, no." And they're like, "Well, you don't have to do it in a British accent." But anyway, I still got in and spent a few years there. Um, college days, learning what it was to be an adult, and also like what it was to have different viewpoints around than I was not used to in my small town, and I learned a lot, about just living, and also like that there can be different experiences than your own that you can draw on to explore things in a creative sense as well. So it was kind of interesting in that respect.
So when we talk about theater and when we talk about acting as a crossover, do you prefer one media versus the other? Would you say, hey, if I could do theater forever versus acting, is there one that you just like more than the other?
Well, that's an interesting question, Chris. I got to tell you, theater I think has a lot going for it. The biggest thing of it is, I think, that you get to sort of build a camaraderie with the people that you're working with, and you have a chance to operate in a more collaborative space, or collaborative, I guess, space than you sometimes do when you're doing film. For instance, I would say that film actors by and large are expected to like have their choices ready to go. You might get the chance to do a rehearsal of it once or twice before you do it, but you kind of have to, you're like an operative. You have to sort of be ready to do the thing without a long rehearsal process to do like table work and research and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you should do research before you arrive on set, and you should not be learning your lines when you arrive on set, ever. But yeah, and another thing that I think is a great benefit for doing theater is it gives you endurance, to do larger larger pieces, and you also get an immediate communion with the audience, and that immediate feedback that sort of allows you to have this give and take that it's simply, well, I mean, to a certain extent it's there if you have like a crew who is responsive on set, but hopefully you can't hear them even if they are. Um, but but there's just something about the communion between audience and performer that is not something that you really discover in film. I also do love doing film just to see um, how it's going to turn out. Like you kind of have an idea of what your frame is going to be in the performance that you've done, but like you get there, you do your thing, and then that's the last time you're going to say those lines, right? You say the lines, you got it, perfect. Well, you might have to come back and do reshoots, but like essentially you just like, that's it for me. See how it comes out in the edit. And then like months later, years later, it comes out and you say, oh, that was pretty cool. So in terms of I like the idea of just doing something really well once and you got it, right? With theater, sometimes you have really long runs and you're like, okay, I'm going to try to make this fresh again tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, you didn't get enough sleep the night before, or or you're just not feeling it that day, but you still have to do the thing day after day after day, which is don't get me wrong, which is a delight and obviously a gift to be able to do that, but also to keep it consistent is sometimes a challenge, right? Because we're human beings, and every day that we exist in the world is a little bit different than the last. So yeah.
No, I appreciate that insight when we talk about the different medias out there being theater and acting. And certainly it kind of brings me to my next piece with you is that when we talk about storytelling in society, in your opinion, when we look at the role of storytelling with your background that you have from theater and film, how do you believe that acting contributes to the storytelling that we see in society?
Well, I mean, I think currently it is probably the type of storytelling that most of us are engaged with on a regular basis, other than, like we have friends who, that's the nature of a friendship, is like, you won't believe what happened to me, or like, and we build our mythologies that way. But I think it is really important, especially now, to consider the types of stories that are getting platforms to share with people, because we have for the longest time been pushing forward a narrative that doesn't represent everyone, if I may say that, if I'm
Yeah.
allowed to say that. And that's, I don't think that's a political thing to say. That's just like straightforward. The stories we tell, whether it be in theater, in film, to one another, the overall narrative that we choose to accept for society, uh, um, is a thing that actually builds the culture around us. If we have these shared experiences that we can draw on, we suddenly begin to, I don't know if it's correct to say we start to believe them, but they start to become more commonplace, or accepted, and we can take the time to challenge orthodoxies and taboos about our society, and look at things in a way that is much more safe than just approaching strangers on the street and saying, I disagree with you, or from the anonymity of the internet. Um, it is a space, a sphere that allows us the freedom and the power to choose what we want to share and to explore, and to really look at human relationships in a way that I don't know if there's another place other than the theater that does that. I mean, film can be a very insular experience in that you could be watching it on a big screen at your home, or you could be watching it in a theater with a bunch of other people. But
Right.
but it's really a very like individualistic viewing experience, I guess I would say. But when you go into a theater, it's like you hear other people laughing at the things that make you laugh, and you see other people crying at the things that make you cry, and we begin to realize that the human experience is way bigger than us, and is way more complex than what we see through our narrow lenses. And I think that is just an amazing and beautiful thing. I think I'm rambling just a little bit, but yeah, it's something that fills me with hope um, about the way art has the capacity to change. I know that even myself, I've sat in shows and had my whole perspective of life change in one line that someone delivers in just that way that breaks your heart, and you're just like, oh man, nothing's going to be the same for me after this. I don't have an example. I don't have an example, Chris. So don't do the follow up. But that has certainly happened to me.
I love that you said that. It's this, storytelling plays this such ingrained culturalistic, if you will, and one-sided opinion, and now it's breaking these barriers and having these opportunities where we can actually learn more to it. And I love what you said, when you're in theater and you're sitting beside someone and they laugh and you feel it's okay to laugh, and you're able to have these moments with strangers sitting beside you versus being in a movie theater when you're kind of just taking it in for you. So when we talk about this stuff, and we all understand that acting requires a deep understanding of human behavior and psychology and sociology, depending on where we are with it. When we ask Cody Porter, how do you approach character development for the stage? What would your go-to be for that?
Um, I'm going to be honest with you here,
Yeah.
Chris, a little bit. And perhaps this is not something I should be readily admitting in a public forum, but character development for me is very much based on me finding people in the real world who do not fit into molds of normalcy. It is very much finding those eccentricities, I guess you would call them, or nuances about the way someone speaks, or the way someone holds themselves, or even the way they stand or lean, or their the patterns that they do things. All their mannerisms are just such rich material to draw from. So most of the time, if I'm in conversation with someone, I'm not really talking a lot, because I don't like to talk about myself very much. So my apologies for that. But I'm it's going to sound weird, but I'm kind of like studying the way that different people interact with the people around them, and in different situations, because we're all different people depending on who we're talking to, right?
Mhm.
That is undoubtedly true. You are a different person when you're talking to your boss than you're talking to your best friend. Like, those are, you could look at those two people and they would look like totally different individuals to you. But to see how people deal with conflict, are they the type of person who just like blows their top, or are they the type of person who gets really quiet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And trying to make those determinations in a way that is supported by the text is extremely extremely valuable. But also, if you do some research about the type of lifestyle this person lives, you often, not that it's always playable, but it always informs you as to how that type of person would deal with a specific situation, right?
Mhm.
If you can observe that type of person in the wild, so much the better. Not that you're going to do like a copy paste of that person, but but to find ways to inform organic and bold choices in the given circumstances of the text, and b, within the atmosphere that is created in the world that the director creates, and also the interactions between your characters. If you can find a couple of triggers, a couple of ins,
Mhm.
as to how do I drop into this character. It could be just a phrase that you say to yourself, like some turn of phrase is usually, for me, I'm like, okay, the tip of the hat, or whatever it is, to get you there. And then there's probably a posture that person has that sort of locks you into that position. And then once you start operating from that zone, it for me at least becomes a little bit easier to make choices that are justified, and I think that's really our job as actors, is to make your choices so specific and so supported by the material and by your research, that anything that you do should be defensible, should be justified. And that helps make the world that much authentic. And of course, as we all know, the more specific things get, and the more the more singular they get, they tend to also expand into universality in this weird way that I still don't quite understand. That if you can make a character so specific, somebody out there is going to be like, I know that person. Of course you don't know that person, but if it's true, if the thing is true and it's based in reality, then it will be recognizable, and it won't be an artifice that you're putting on. It'll be coming from within, you know. And I think for me, that's sort of where I start from the outside and start like stealing from people around me, and then I start like, okay, how do I make that? Okay, I've probably spoken too much on this topic, Chris, but that's sort of how I get started anyway.
That's fair. And Cody, where can people learn more about you? Are you on social media? Can we follow you somewhere?
Sure, yeah. I'm on the Facebook. I'm on the Instagram. I would say my Instagram tends to be more like photos of my personal life. I do try to not do a whole lot of promoting on social media, but if I'm in a show, you will definitely know about it because it'll be on there. On Facebook, I have my personal page, and then I also have my actor page. So I try to lean to putting most of that onto my actor page rather than inundating every person I know with projects.
And Cody, sense. Is there anything that you're currently working on that you can share with us?
Absolutely. I'm currently doing a show called Amor de Cosmos. It is a one-person show that is written in iambic pentameter and is also a musical about British Columbia's second premier, born William Alexander Smith, changed his name to Amor de Cosmos. He started out life as a idealistic liberal reformer, BC's father of Confederation, and through the course of his life, sort of, and due to daguerreotype chemicals and some exposure to iodine and some other factors, sort of, I guess, sort of lost his grip on reality and also swung wildly to the other side of the spectrum, becoming a capitalistic sort of hyper conservative in ways that were surprising and sort of infamous. So yeah, we're doing that show in Roslyn, BC, which I don't think a lot of people are going to be doing a trip to Roslyn, BC to see it. But my hope is that we can find a producer out there who is interested in possibly seeing what next stages are for this play, because I think it has the potential, certainly, to go the way of like a Hadestown or a Hamilton, in that it's just a really fascinating story. It's a musical. The iambic pentameter thing, I mean, Shakespeare was pretty famous for it, right? So yeah, so that's sort of the hope, is the next stage will be sort of trying to do a cross Canada tour with the thing, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
And Cody, I have time for one last question for you today, and it's
so fast.
What makes you smile, bud?
This is a good question, and an easy question for me to answer, I think. What makes me smile is this is going to sound so lame, but I'm going to say it. What makes me smile is doing something small in your day, in whatever day that you're having, if you're feeling down, or if you are just not at your best, uh, taking a moment to find someone in your life who might benefit from just experience something a little bit special. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but just trying to take a moment to make someone else's day special is something that actually for me is like one of those you can't do it yourself, do it to somebody else, right? So the act of trying to make someone else smile or to brighten someone else's day is actually the thing that makes me smile. So yeah, I guess that's it. And I mean, like, comedy. Comedy does it.
That's amazing. As I said, it was my last question for you. I really appreciate your time, Cody. Thank you
My
so much for
pleasure.
coming out on to Coffee with Chris. Everyone out there, remember to have a fantastic day and smile to inspire. Thank you.
Absolutely. Cheers.